Welcome, friends. And today we are going to deviate. It's an off-topic discussion. Rafael Nadal wins historic 14th French Open and 22nd Grand Slam. Now, if you try to understand this number 14, so Pete Sampras, who was the legend of tennis in the 90s, he has 14 Grand Slams in total, and Nadal alone now has 14 French Opens, and that number is just unbelievable. And what Rafael Nadal did, what I want to highlight here most importantly is this is the toughest French Open that Rafael Nadal has won, and there has never been a tougher French Open considering the age, considering the players he had to beat. He has beaten top four, top 10 players, four top 10 players in this tournament, and also he becomes the oldest player to win the French Open. He breaks the record of Andres Gimeno, who won the French Open at the age of 34 in 1972, and now Nadal has won it at the age of 36 years and 2 days, 3rd June being his 36th birthday. And if you notice that this was the day, 5th June 2005, when Rafael Nadal won his first French Open, and life has come full circle, winning his 14th French Open on 5th June 2022, 17 years later. So we are going to look back at the tournament, look back at the journey, and see how Rafael Nadal managed to do this thing. A lot of fans may be saying this was quite obvious, like Nadal winning French Open. There is no great surprise in this, but you have to consider the age factor and the injury factor that Nadal always plays with. So, considering that this has to be on the top of the table of all the French Open that he won, and we are going to discuss a bit about that. So let me share my screen about something I made about French Open, and yeah, off we go. And if you see Nadal, he had quite the journey, and I'm just going to discuss about the final first because he beat his student Casper Ruud. Now Casper Ruud was coming, he's the world number 8. It was world number 5 versus world number 8. And if you see the stats of Casper Ruud, the serving stats, 52 aces compared to Nadal's 13 aces, lesser double faults, more games won on service, higher first serve percentage when all the serving stats in favor of Casper Ruud. And if you see the return stats, Nadal was better. So this was going to be an even encounter. If you see the first serve return points won, Nadal 40%, second serve return points won, Nadal 1% more. And yeah, break points converted. This is going to be an important discussion that I'm going to have. So Nadal has converted 38 out of 85. That is 45%. Break points he has converted, and that has been the reason for his success single-handedly. Obviously, also winning the long rallies, he has done better than Casper Ruud. Winning the mid rallies, Ruud has done well on the shorter rallies. But let's talk about Casper Ruud. Now, who is exactly Casper Ruud? Casper Ruud, I've noticed him since last 2 years. He's a phenomenal clay court player. He's a typical clay court player who, plays very well with high balls, lobs. He's a counter puncher. He doesn't generate the pace, but he will make use of the pace that his opponents create. And that's why in the last 2 years, he has the most number of clay court wins. 15 more than the second best, which is Stefanos Tsitsipas. So that shows how incredible he has been playing Casper Ruud, and he fully deserved to be in this finals. Even though the other half of the draw was quite open with no Nadal, no Djokovic in that half, and no Carlos Alcaraz Garcia. So despite his prior success on clay and victory at Australian Open, Nadal actually entered as the third favorite here behind Djokovic, who came off a scintillating win in Rome, and Carlos Alcaraz Garcia, who's the upcoming star from Spain, who considers Nadal as his idol. He has been in tremendous form. He's been destroying his opponents. He's been killing. He's the giant killer. He's been slaying a lot of top 10 players. So that was about Nadal's position coming into the tournament. But let's go match by match and see what Nadal had to come up against. So three easy rounds, I would say. Okay, Vandy Zanshul was 26 seed, but after that, fourth round, you have Felix Auger Aliassime, and Felix is coached by Tony Nadal, who is Rafa's uncle, and Rafa's uncle decided to leave Rafa last year and coach Felix Auger Aliassime from Canada. And Felix is a powerful, fit guy, and the level of tennis was incredible, and it looked like Felix may come on top and produce an upset. But Rafa, again, in a 4 hour and 4.5 hour encounter, coming up trumps in the fifth game, and the best game of the tournament, I feel, was the most crucial and the best game and the deciding game of the tournament was obviously Nadal versus Djokovic in the quarterfinals. And this was such a typical Nadal Djokovic match, with long drawn out games, lot of deuce, lot of advantage. And Djokovic loves these things. He loves to create that, drama, the theatrics, and the theater that Djokovic creates. He traps his opponents on the deuces, and after that they can't seem to win the points on the serve. And then after a long game, Djokovic comes on top, and suddenly you are all broken on the tennis court. And that is what I feel like Nadal started really well in the first set, but he lost all the momentum. He was very sweaty. It was the roof was closed, night conditions. A lot of people were saying that Nadal is not favorite in the night conditions against Djokovic. There was a 17-minute long game in the second set, which sucked all the momentum from Nadal. And it seemed like 2021 last year semifinals deja vu when Nadal won the first set, but Djokovic came back to win next three sets and win the semifinal, and then went on to win the final against Tsitsipas in 5 sets. So Djokovic, let's talk about Djokovic's mentality. Like, he's the Iceman. He's a reverse pessimist. Like, that's an interesting term I'm using, reverse pessimist. So he thinks that his opponents are going to be driven in that pessimistic drive, that they are not able to break through. They are getting entrapped in this long drawn out games, deuce games, and Djokovic always winning that deuce point and getting to the advantage, and is able to win those long games. But Nadal countered brilliantly, even though Djokovic, in the second set, he was pinpoint. One thing that I give a lot of credit to Djokovic is his pinpoint accuracy, finding those lines, finding those pockets. He's almost like a billiards player, finding those pockets. And first set, credit to Nadal. Nadal really came out aggressively, flying off the blocks. And third set, again, Nadal did the same thing. He came flying off the blocks, tried to push Djokovic backwards. And fourth set, I thought Nadal totally dominated Djokovic. In fact, he broke Djokovic on his best service game. Djokovic served 2 aces in that game, and he had a lot of first serves in that game, and Nadal actually managed to break him. And the good thing, the positive thing was so many winners from Nadal in that game, more winners than Djokovic, who was more trying to find the lines, but Nadal was winning those clear-cut winners, dragging Djokovic out of court position. And Nadal attacked Djokovic's second serve and started hitting deeper in third and fourth set. So those were some of the, good points from the game. And next comes Alexander Zverev, and I was honestly, it was Nadal's birthday. I was expecting an easy win for Nadal, but not to be. I mean, there was a 98-minute first set. It was a grueling encounter, and again the roof was closed. It was a rainy day in Paris, and Nadal suddenly, from a set point, he finds himself in the tiebreaker, and in the tiebreaker, Zverev is 4-2, 6-2 ahead with 4 set points, and he could not convert. Nadal, with 3 outstanding forehand passes, manages to close the gap to 6-6, then it's 7-7, then it's 8-8, and finally Nadal wins the tiebreaker 10-8. And what it would have meant for Nadal to win that 98-minute set. He got a lot of confidence, and Zverev, hats off to him, after beating Carlos Alcaraz, who was one of the favorite of the tournament. He was playing absolutely fantastic. I mean, those backhands, the two-hander backhand of Zverev, it's just a beautiful thing, and it was coming off so good. And it was unfortunate that he slipped on his ankle, and he had to retire from that match. So that was about Nadal, and he had never played Ruud, even though Ruud has been a student of the Rafa Nadal Academy. He had never actually played Ruud except for the practice games at Rafa Nadal Academy. So let's talk about a bit about Ruud's journey. Um, Emotional first match, Joe Wilfred Songa bidding goodbye to the French crowd, lost the first set there, and then came back to win three sets and the tie break from zero. Love game, and Emil Rusovori, another fellow Scandinavian and tough opponent. Lorenzo Sonego, my God, what a match! This was a five-setter, and here Sonego actually wins the second and third set and is 2-1 up, and Casper Ruud comes back to win two sets from 2-1 behind to beat Lorenzo Sonego, who's a fantastic clay courter, and Hubert Hurkacz, also a great player on the ATP tour. He managed to beat him in four sets. And Holger Rune, this was going to be the battle of Scandinavia, Denmark versus Norway. And awesome start by Casper Ruud, but again fell off, but came back when Marin Cilic, Marin Cilic is already a Grand Slam champion in 2014 US Open, and Cilic had that experience of Grand Slam, how to play on the big stage, and he dominated Casper Ruud in the first set and the first half of the second set. But hats off to the coolness of Casper Ruud. He was able to come back and win that semi-final and go on to the finals. So the different game style of, I would just like to take a minute on the personality and the game style. So Ruud is a counter puncher. Nadal in this tournament has been playing more like a hard courter than a clay courter. He's been more aggressive. He's been hitting those high pace forehands. Ruud has been serving well. His serving stats we have seen, and Nadal is the returner. And the battle was between the off forehand of Casper Ruud. Now, if you see, this was a disadvantage of Casper Ruud because when he plays the right-hander, he played all the six right-handers in the tournament, and he always hits the off forehand to the backhand of the right-hander. But in case of Nadal, the off forehand was going to his forehand, and Nadal's best shot, I think, against Djokovic also was the down the line forehand, which always confuses Djokovic because he's always expecting a cross-court forehand, and Nadal has been able to win this French Open on the back of his down the line forehand, which he has used very effectively and making very less errors on this low percentage shots. It's a very risky shot because you have less of the court length to cover. So I think this was the master versus student because Casper Ruud has trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy since 2018, and both families are very, very familiar with each other. And if you see at Roland Garros 22, now here I want to highlight one thing, that breakpoint saved Nadal 53% and Casper Ruud even better, like 63%. So both of these players are quite cool under the pressure, and breakpoints converted Nadal. Wow, 45% and Casper Ruud 38%. So this was going to be quite an even match. But the interesting thing in this to note is Nadal actually got broken 18 times in this tournament. So 20 out of 38 means that he got broken 18 times in this tournament, and that is why it was the toughest tournament for Rafa Nadal. And beating four players in the top 10, which is Felix Auger-Aliassime, Djokovic, Zverev, and now Casper Ruud. So four players, he has never done that. And Roger Federer has only done it once in 2017 Australian Open. Djokovic has not beaten top four players in one single Grand Slam. So that is why I call this as the toughest French Open out of the 14. This is the one out of that 14 French Open which took a lot from Nadal physically and mentally. Time spent on court, this is so neck to neck. If you see Nadal 18 hours 8 minutes, and Nadal was lucky that the game against Zverev Zverev retired, and otherwise that was going to be a 5-setter or a 4-setter, and that was going to be a 5-hour long match, because 3 hours 13 minutes में सिर्फ दो sets भी complete नहीं हुए. Even 2 sets were not completed in 3 hour 13 minutes. That was definitely going to 5 hour length, and that saved a lot of leg time for Nadal. That retirement of Zverev. So finally, today's match, Nadal was clinical. He had a minor shock in the second set, getting broken, but he came back to win 4 consecutive games. Uh, and I mean, he won 11 consecutive games. That is just amazing. From 3-1, he went 6-3 and then 6-0. So 11 consecutive games in the final for Nadal, and he becomes the oldest man to win the French Open. Uh, that's all about Nadal. But now the question for Nadal fans will he be able to continue? Should he retire when he is at the top? Because 2022 has been a tough year for Nadal physically. If you see the journey of Nadal, uh, so last year he had a foot injury, which is very difficult to recover from, and he has been playing a lot of tennis in the last 1 year with injections in his foot, which actually makes his foot numb. And then when he just won the Australian Open, things were looking good. But he had a rib injury in the hard court season. And you thought that's it. Probably the Australian Open was going to be the only highlight for Nadal, getting that 21st Grand Slam. But he comes back to the clay court swing, and in the clay court, Carlos Alcaraz is dominating, and Djokovic is dominating, and Nadal again, loses one match due to his foot injury to Shapovalov, and you feel that's it. I think he will not be able to play French Open, or he will not be fully fit, even if he plays the French Open. But again, he comes back, and he's just phenomenal mental strength of Nadal at phenomenal Nadal. That's it. That was on display, because what a tough year, and this guy has been so mentally strong. And I won't be surprised if there's a big decision or a retirement call, or at least a decision not to play Wimbledon this year. But that's the first time actually Nadal has done the double of Australian and French Open. He has never been able to do that because Djokovic has been dominant in the Australian Open. And this is the first time actually Nadal has won both Australian Open, French Open. The only other time he won the Australian Open in 2009, and that time he was not able to win the French Open. So, other things, I want to congratulate Iga Swiatek on a famous win, second title for her in the French Open, and she's on a 35 match winning streak. So that is amazing. And in the doubles, we saw the first man from El Salvador, which is a Latin American country, to win a doubles title. So the French Open was amazing. I mean, really loving the tennis this time in the French Open. And the best match for me will be Nadal and Djokovic, because Nadal having lost last year to Djokovic, it felt like it was going to be the close of Nadal's career, but he has come back from that and did the unbelievable, winning the Australian Open and French Open. And Djokovic needs to make a comeback now if he's going to level with Nadal, and it's not going to be easy, but I would still back probably Djokovic to win more than 22. But Nadal has proven without a doubt that he is one of the greatest of all time. He's playing this game since 17 years, and a lot of critics said that physically it won't be possible for him to sustain this kind of a gameplay. And he has adapted very well. He's playing the shorter points. He's volleying a lot. He's one of the best volleyers in the game. He's closing out points quicker. He's playing the drop shot very effectively. And hats off to the genius of Rafa Nadal, phenomenal Nadal, and number 22, Vamos. That's it from me. Thank you, and keep following our channel.